This is your 20-minute podcast, where we do our best to give you useful information in 20 minutes or less. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/your 20-minute podcast. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Now, here's your host, David Brower.
Thanks, Allan. This is David Brower, and our special guest today is Kathy Tuccaro from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, right?
That's right.
Did I guess right? Awesome.
You're good.
So Kathy is a mom, an author, a motivational speaker, and is a heavy equipment operator, driving the biggest Caterpillar I have ever seen in my life, anywhere, anytime.
And it's great. It's so great.
What is that about?
Well, get this. I used to be a nurse for 13 years,
right.
And due to a lifetime of trauma and undealt issues, and I ended up homeless for a whole whopping 7 days. But during that 7 days, I'm like, oh, heck no, this is not what's going on. This is not going to happen. So I turned it around, and within 2 years of being homeless, I ended up going to a career planning workshop where they teach you, they kind of assess you with personality traits and aptitude, and it worked out to be a heavy equipment operator. I just about fell off my chair because, number one, I'm a woman. Number two, I was 42 at the time. And number three, that's a man's job. I've never even looked at equipment. Are you kidding? Like, my whole life was based on nursing. So for me, it was a huge revelation. Like, okay, she's wrong. But it turned out she was right. She sent me to this program we have here in Edmonton called Women Building Futures, where they get women into all the non-traditional trades, like construction, heavy equipment operator, journeywoman, plumbing, electricity, and all that stuff.
Nice.
But the day I came in to fill out the paperwork, Imperial Oil just happened to be there, and they were offering for the first time a pilot project where they were paying $18,000 per woman to learn how to be a heavy equipment operator, and with the possibility of being hired up in the northern Canadian oil sands. So there was 170 women that applied, and they were only picking 16, and I got picked.
Wow.
And out of the 16, they hired 11, and I got hired.
Wow.
So when I went up there for the first time, this was 4 years ago, I had never seen, the picture on my book is the first day I'm beside the truck. I hadn't even been inside the cab yet.
Nice.
And I'm standing beside there, and I had tears in my eyes because I was thinking that 2 years ago, prior to that, I was homeless. And look where I am today. Holy cow.
Holy cow.
And I'm looking up at this truck, and I'm thinking, oh, my goodness, I didn't even know these things existed. They're so big. It's the size of a house, right? So that's how that happened, yeah.
I mean, this is audio, folks. You got to check out the picture of this truck. It's a water truck, is that right?
No, well, I do drive a truck,
okay,
which is 208,000 liters of water, or in the States it'd be 52,000 gallons, which is a lot.
Wow, that's a lot.
But the truck that I drive is technically 385 tons, which works out to be 345 metric tons, but it holds up to 419 tons of dirt. It's massive.
That is way massive.
The tires are twice my size.
Oh my gosh.
It's unbelievable. You have to see it.
Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right. Well, let's get back to the story. I mean, that's a good story by itself, but the story that helped you turn your life around so many times, and about the book that came out, last spring, right?
Actually, no, it finally got released. There was delays at the end of August.
Oh, okay. Nice.
My official book launch is on December 6th here in Edmonton. We're having a big thing.
Oh, good. Well, this is a good time then. So
it's perfect.
Yeah. So the book is called Dream Big by Kathy Tuccaro, Overcoming a Lifetime of Trauma, Abuse, and Dreams that Led to Success.
Yep.
And I got to tell you, from age 4 to 40, you lived about 57 lifetimes.
Yeah, you could say that.
Oh, my gosh.
You could say that.
Oh, my gosh.
The fact that I'm alive is a miracle in itself. It truly is.
Yeah, I agree. So let's start from there and share that story however you wish, because it's terrifying and it's inspiring all in the same breath.
Okay. Well, I mean, it started with a lot of child sexual abuse when I was in a foster home, and then it kind of proceeded. We had a lot of domestic family violence growing up as a child, and my only safe place that I could find was in a doghouse. It was really bad, very bad, very traumatic. And then growing up at 14, I was raped by my first boyfriend, and then molested again at 15 by the same foster family that I had gone back to visit. And then 18, I started modeling, and I ended up being date raped, drugged and raped by a photographer down in Miami after a photo session.
Wow.
And then at 19, I was gang raped in Montreal getting out of a cab. And not only that, I mean, this I talk about a little bit in the book, but the neighbors had found me in behind the alley, and they took me to their apartment, and they proceeded to rape me.
Oh, no.
And they stole all, like, my bag. Like, the four guys that attacked me initially had taken all my money, my keys, my purse, everything, so I had nothing to get into my apartment. And so when I finally called the landlord, instead of calling the police, didn't even think of that.
Sure.
I just wanted to go home. The landlord proceeded to rape me on top of that. He didn't want me to become frigid.
Oh,
so,
my God.
I ended up on a bridge and wanting to commit suicide, and it was really tough for me. It was a really, and that chapter is called Eye of the Hurricane, because that's exactly what it was.
Exactly what it was.
Yeah. And so then I ended up finding the hope and inspiration to move across Canada from Montreal to Jasper, and started over. And I got married. That didn't work out. I ended up getting divorced, but I started going to school, and I got my nursing career, which was great. But the problem was that I never dealt with any of my issues. I just pretended that it didn't happen.
Gotcha.
You know, you bury it. You put on a mask and say everything is okay, when in reality you're so hurt inside. But nursing gave me the perfect opportunity to take care of other people's problems.
Yeah. My wife's a nurse. I totally get that. So it's
so easy. Yeah,
you transform your giving to others so you don't have to deal with your own so much, right?
Yeah, and that's exactly what I did, and I was really good at it then I just proceeded into very violent domestic violence relationships for 7 years. So it was so bad that I was living in the women's shelter and still working as a nurse at the hospital because I couldn't get it. I couldn't figure it out. I needed a paycheck too,
sure,
because I was trying to get out.
Sure.
But it was really, really bad until finally, at the age of 40, I couldn't pretend anymore. I couldn't. I showed up to work one day and I'm looking at my nursing sheet and I couldn't read it. I could not read it, and I knew I was done. That was the start of the healing process, where I was able to finally come to terms with what went on, and I had to go to treatment. And when I say treatment, it's not like, because I used to drink quite a bit, it's not just for the alcohol, but it's everything that was underneath that I didn't deal with. The alcohol is just a superficial masking the symptoms.
Sure.
So I ended up going to a year-long women's program. It's faith-based, it was Christian, where you lived there for a year and you had 24-hour treatment, you had counseling, you had all this stuff where you learned about boundaries, codependency, anger management, like all this stuff, like self-esteem and things that I had no idea.
Wow.
And it was that really, really transformed my life. And I was able to get back on, the wagon, so to speak.
Right.
I had 5.5 years sober. It took me 3 tries in that place. I started in 2009, and at the time it was only a 9-month program.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I had dealt with all my sexual abuse. They bring you through a very intense sexual abuse recovery group,
mm-hmm.
where it's just a small group of women and 4 counselors, and for 12 weeks that's all you do, right? And it's very intense. But I needed that.
Yeah.
And so and then after 9 months, I left because you had to go back to work or go to school, and I just went straight back to work and thought I was okay because I had talked about it. But I had so many layers that were so deep and buried that I relapsed within 2 weeks. I was drinking, and I couldn't understand why. So it took me a total of 2 years that I went back. I went back 3 times there. I went 9 months and then 5 months, and then I finally finished the whole year the 3rd time.
Nice.
And that's in 2013 when I finished.
Well, and what's remarkable about that, without knowing the circumstances or the specifics, is that each time they welcomed you back.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime. You can go as much as you like.
Yeah.
Right? They'll never say no. And it's It's a wonderful, wonderful program. It's through the Hope Mission. They have a men's program. They have a women's program. They have a youth program. They have a program for after-school kids that have dysfunctional families. The kids go there and they learn sports, so it's called Kids in Actions, and I volunteer there regularly with the kids. You run a 5K race every year. They have farms. It's just incredible. I love the Hope Mission. They're amazing. They do a lot for the community.
So one of the things I've talked about with people on various podcasts that I've done, emotional, self-improvement kinds of things, always seems to come up with a conversation about self-esteem and how people feel that sometimes whatever your self-esteem is the kind of people that you're attracted to.
Absolutely.
So if your self-esteem is in the gutter, then guess what? I'm going to go hang out in the gutter for a while. Was that kind of your experience?
Yes, absolutely. And it's funny, I just gave a workshop at Diverse Family Voices Family Violence Conference where it was all social workers and educators, and I did a thing with them about where they're at with their self-esteem. I call it like the negative core belief. I said, take away your education, take away your titles that you carry around, take away your identity.
Right.
What do you really feel on a daily basis about yourself? And I had them write it on a piece of paper and put it in a box, and then I just randomly, because it was all anonymous, out of the 155 people, I read about maybe 10 of them. I read them out loud to the crowd. It was unbelievable, the things that they were writing about themselves. And I'm thinking, wow, it's not just people that are in recovery. I mean, it's everyday people.
Right.
I mean, some of these people, the things that I read were horrible, like, oh, wow. But yet they walk around like I did with that mask, that you pretend that you're okay.
Yeah.
But you're really not.
Well, and for you to create pretty much instantaneously a safe environment where they could share they've obviously been thinking about that for a while to be able to write that so promptly, right?
Yeah, it was impressive. And I was actually giving a repeat session in the afternoon, and there was a lineup of people for my second session because I do real work with people, and I think that's what they look for. They don't want the superficial crap or these workshops where you kind of sleep through it. Well, I'm not like that. So I had lineups for the second. I had people reserving seats. I had people in the hall. I had people sitting down. It was like, wow.
Oh, wow.
There's clearly a need here.
Oh, my gosh.
I couldn't believe it.
That's
so,
amazing.
now I know what to work with, right? Yeah.
Right? Now you can write a second book about self-esteem.
Well, I'm going to be doing a workbook and putting that on my website, a workbook.
How fascinating.
A simple workbook for people to look at. Yeah.
That's a great idea. I think more and more it seems like all of us at some level, and as you just stated, all of us at some level are masking things, hiding behind things, putting on the good face, all that good stuff, and or all that bad stuff. And so if we have an opportunity and a resource, if you will, to be able to reach out anonymously and kind of work on our stuff until we get enough self-esteem to actually admit it and work with somebody like you, man, that would change some lives.
You know, you just hit the nail on the head by the two words you just said, admit it. That's the biggest problem. People will not admit it, that they feel that way. They always, and especially in the workplace. You got to put on this image, and then the society pressure and all this crap. I call it superficial bull crap, right? It's so unreal.
Right.
And today, the way I am, it doesn't matter. If I'm having a bad day, okay, I'm having a bad day. If I'm not feeling good about myself, I say it. But I don't hide. I don't pretend anymore that everything is okay. That is the difference. I'm able to be honest with what I'm feeling when I'm feeling it.
And that gives people an opportunity to feed that back to you because your credibility is instantaneous.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. I hadn't thought about it like that. Yeah, you're right.
I think that's right. I think people appreciate, because being authentic is so rare, and people are magnets to people who can be authentic and in some way, shape, or form feel that they're going to help you. And I think that, at least that's my impression, and I think that's why you had such big lines, because people were spreading word of mouth.
Yeah.
Man, if you don't go see Kathy, you're screwed up,
People were leaving their assigned workshops to come to mine. I couldn't believe it.
I love that. Absolutely love that.
So did I. But you don't realize sometimes the effect you have on people.
Yeah.
And this was the first time I had actually took a risk this big, because usually I work with people in recovery and in shelters, and they're readily willing to admit they got a problem.
Right.
So to work with people from the other side of the spectrum, I'd never done that before, and so I took a risk. I said, you know what? Take away their titles. There's still people. They still got hurts and pains, and they're just not showing it. So we're going to try this. We're going to do this, and boy, did it work!
What a payoff for you and them. What a payoff. So Are you finding yourself being attracted to do more and more of that kind of work?
Absolutely. Yeah. Driving this truck is only a stepping stone, and it's kind of financing. It financed my book. It financed everything that I'm doing, because on my 10 days I do a lot of travel.
Yeah.
And until I actually make it on TV and, do different things, I'll still be driving the truck because it's a good job.
Well, for sure.
And I love it, but it's pretty soon it's going to kind of take over too much room to stop me from where I really want to do.
Well, you want to be, I'm not going to put, well, I am going to put words in your mouth. you want to be a national speaker who's well paid to be able to travel around and share your message day in, day out. Here I am. Let's go.
Yeah.
Fair?
But initially, more so, it's not so much, yes, that's great, but my main goal is to reach the places that nobody goes to.
There you go.
Everybody goes to conferences. Everybody goes there. What I do, I go up in northern Canada to the women's shelters and the schools that don't have the resources. I go to reservations. And now I started going internationally, and I go regularly to down in Grenada and Barbados. I'm actually going to be in Barbados in January 29th to February 5th, and I'm speaking in a women's prison. I'm speaking at a girls' juvenile detention center. I'm at the women's shelter. I'm giving classes there, and I'm at the family violence center.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Screw the conferences. You're doing the work.
It is. And with the proceeds of the book, I fully intend on building a women's shelter down in Grenada and an orphanage, because it's so lacking. 7 out of the 8 women in that shelter can't even read. It blew my mind. I'm like, oh my goodness. And there's so much sexual abuse going on.
Let's talk about your book and how people can get that. It's Dream Big, Overcoming a Lifetime of Trauma and Abuse and Dreams That Led to Success. You're having your big book unveiling, if you will, in December, right?
Yep, you bet. On Wednesday, December 6th. It's available on Amazon, in Barnes & Nobles, and here in Canada chapters. It also is available on my website if you want to buy it from there. The workbook is in the making to follow this one here.
Good. And what's your website?
Kathy Tuccaro, which is Kathy, Tuccaro, Tuccaro.com. Yeah.
Easy enough. And folks, I want to encourage you.
And there's also YouTube. I have a few videos on YouTube.
It's just what
my name.
Great minds. That's what I'm saying. Because I just watched one of your 8-minute videos on YouTube. It was so captivating. It's called Dream Big, Kathy's Story. And in a nutshell, it takes you through the book chapter by chapter, I believe.
Yes, it does.
Visually shares your words, your story, your struggle, your success. And the song Oceans by Hillsong United, if you've never heard that before, I have 1,000 times. It's an incredible song, and it captures the video so beautifully. You have to take the time.
Can I tell you a quick story on that?
Yeah.
The video's 8 minutes long, and I couldn't find a song that lasted 8 minutes, and so I'm just wondering. So 3 nights in a row, I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm hearing this music loud and clear, and I asked my husband, I said, do you hear that song? And he's like, there's no music, go back to bed. I'm like, no, I can hear this song. 3 nights in a row, the same song. I get up, and it turns out, I had to find it because it was bugging me.
Sure.
It turns out it was Oceans, 8 minutes long, exactly what I needed for my video. How cool is that?
You got a God thing going on, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Yes, you do. Well, God bless you for what you do and what you share and the places you go to touch so many lives in so many ways. Your laughter is contagious, as is your authenticity. So congratulations on where you are and where you're going.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Our guest has been Kathy Tuccaro. Again, it's KathyTuccaro.com. And check out her book, Big Dreams. There's a big truck on the cover. You can't miss
Can't miss it. Thank you very much for having me.
You bet, Kathy. I enjoyed it. Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Until next time, don't forget to download your free audiobook at audibletrial.com/your 20-minute podcast. That's audibletrial.com/your 20-minute podcast for your free audiobook. And thanks for listening to Your 20-Minute Podcast with David Brower.